Do you own a service business? If so, you may want to pay attention. This is the Pivot Ready Business System by Bergflow. We've helped hundreds of small service businesses grow and become highly successful. Elevate your opportunities, profits, and time freedom. Visit www.bergflow.com/podcast to claim your free video to learn more. You're just minutes away from learning how to transform your service business and your life. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Under Pressure Podcast. My name is John McDaniel. Here on the Under Pressure Podcast, you know we're going to talk business and everything under pressure. Today, I've got a special guest. We met at the QDS conference in New Orleans. What has it been? A couple of weeks now, I guess. Back to life. His name is Kevin Vidrine. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. Appreciate the invite.
Awesome. So Kevin's been married for 29 years, which I wanted to say that right off the bat. He sent me a bio on this, and I just wanted to immediately say that is awesome. So congratulations to you and your wife. That is a long time. That is fantastic. So 2 daughters, I believe one that just graduated, and both attending the University of Louisiana in the fall. U.S. Air Force veteran. Thank you for your service, Kevin. Previous mortgage broker, and since 2007 he's been in the lawn service business with a franchise, and I think that started, you said, in Scotts LawnService, and then 2016 TruGreen come in and bought that out, and obviously you still own the franchise. Now you operate 5 of those in Louisiana and Texas, and you're a pilot. That is really cool because I really want to get my pilot's license. So we might have to have a conversation around that. And also enjoy hunting in Colorado and Louisiana. So we're already going to be friends. I was born in Louisiana and I'm in Colorado as often as I can possibly be. So welcome, Kevin.
Thank you. Appreciate the offer. Thank you.
Yeah, no, this is fantastic. So since I've been doing this podcast, I haven't actually been able to talk to anyone that has done like the franchise side of things, which is really cool. It's a new perspective and a different perspective there. So I wanted to dive into that. But before that, like let's talk about you, Kevin, man. Like you've done some cool stuff. You got a great family. What's your story? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in southern Louisiana, Lafayette, Louisiana. Lafayette's a town of about 200,000 people. I am about to be 50 in October. And so, grew up just a normal dude. Went to Acadiana High School in Lafayette, Louisiana. Shortly after high school, joined the Air Force. Went to basic training, school in Wichita Falls, and I was not married at the time. Picked off to when I got daughters. Was unsure where I was going to go for quite a while I was in school in Wichita Falls. So one day I was walking by the wall where they posted our assignments, and I saw that I was going to Kadena Air Force Base. So quickly looked that up and found out that it was in Okinawa, Japan. And then I had to look up where that was because I had no idea where Okinawa was. So I just quickly called my girlfriend at the time and said I was going to Okinawa, Japan. And then at that point, she was like, okay, so what are we going to do now? So I said, why don't we get married next weekend? Because if you want to come with me, we have to get married really quick. So I asked her to marry me on the payphone while I was at school in Wichita Falls. Got married, and off we went to Okinawa in October of 1994. So we were stationed there for 3 years, decided that we were going to move back to the States, and I was stationed at Eglin Air Force Base in Portland for the rest of my time in the Air Force. Got out in 98, went back to college, finished school, another 2 years of college, and I finished college at University of Louisiana at Lafayette. It was USL at the time. Worked at a couple of different companies and became a mortgage broker. So I did that I think I was a mortgage broker for like 7 years. Wow. And then became a customer of Scotts LawnService when I bought my current house back in 2005-ish, I guess. And then I was a customer for a while, and the guy that owned it was a friend of mine from middle school. And one day he told me, "Hey, I'm trying to sell Scotts LawnService. Me and my partner are opening a transportation business." So had no idea what lawn care was, didn't know much about other than just being a customer, didn't know anything about it. So I worked for a few months to try to find some funding to buy that business, and finally was successful. Bought the business in 2007. At that time, it was less than a $100,000 business.
Okay.
So then, fast forward to a few years down the road, I was able to buy two new locations, and then we got those going, and we fast forward a couple more years, and Scotts Lawn Service, the lawn service portion of Scotts, got sold to TruGreen, and so that's how we
Okay.
became TruGreen franchises. And then since then, we've added a couple new locations. So totally, so now we're in five locations.
It's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm going to back up here. So I actually live about oh, I can be in Wichita Falls in a very short amount of time.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm in Weatherford, so it's a quick trip over there, and I've spent a little time over there. So that's funny that you
Yep. I know
proposed on.
exactly where you're at. Yep. I live in Fort Worth. I know exactly where you're at.
So all this stuff you've gone through and growing up there in Louisiana. So you returned to Louisiana um, after Air Force and went back to college. So did you? A lot of people they'll venture off and they don't want to go anywhere close to where they grew up and they end up somewhere else. Uh, what was the desire to go back to Louisiana?
Man, I still wonder that to this day. That was obviously many years ago, 1998. We moved back, and I was just
Yep.
young, and kind of wanting to move back home. In hindsight, now that I'm older, my wife and I are like, well, number one, I second guess um, the getting out of the Air Force in the first place, because now that that was 1994. So in another year, I could be retiring 30 years in the Air Force and have a great retirement. I have a couple buddies that I was in with that stayed in. They retired at 20 years, and the fact that now we're trying hard to travel as adults, and obviously how much that costs. So
Yeah.
could have traveled a lot in the Air Force. So I regret that decision sometimes getting out. And but what what caused me to move back to Louisiana again? It was something that we just decided. We were just young, and
Yeah.
at the time was living in Destin, Florida,
Oh wow.
and moved home from Destin, Florida. That's where I was stationed. And now
Okay.
look at it; it's just a thriving, great tropical place. And coincidentally, we have a condo not far from there now. So we try hard as best as we can to get to the beach. When back then I was living at the beach and could still be living at the beach if we had stayed there. But you know,
Well,
no
yeah.
regrets. It's just one of the
Yeah.
choices we made in life.
Oh yeah. Well, that's one of those things. They say you appreciate places a lot more when you don't live there, right? So you get to go to these other places. If you'd lived there, you probably would have just taken for granted. So that's
Correct.
that's cool though. Like back home, probably closer to family and all that. And a lot of people are kind of doing that. And I've stuck around Texas, but I've kind of moved around a little bit. But so what? You were a mortgage broker. You knew these guys selling this franchise. Tell me about like why did you decide? I mean, what really made you decide to pick that up and purchase that business?
Yeah. So it's a thing where I'm sure you've run across a lot of people that would love their own business, and I was kind of in the same position. I wanted my own business, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to start it. I kind of contemplated starting my own mortgage business. Um, Coincidentally, right when I left, shortly after I left, the whole 2008 housing crisis started. So I think I got out at a good time. Um, and I just wanted my own business, and this opportunity came along, and I just jumped on it. I was, and I really did it very blindly, not knowing what the future would hold. I left a decent paying job to become a business owner, and had no idea what the future would hold. But fortunately, it worked out.
Yeah, yeah, sounds like it's worked out great. Um, so the franchise side of this, and I mean, I've honestly kind of looked at some franchises on different levels, gyms and
Mhm.
different things like that. I've kind of looked at it. Um, what is the process? I know someone else kind of had this, and it sounded like they moved off into another business. But what was the process like to take over and actually take over that franchise? Like, was there a specific amount that you had to come in with to buy them out, and how did the franchise handle that? As far as what was that process like?
That was actually pretty simple. Like I said, at that time, it was Scotts LawnService. Basically, I just bought the business from the owners for a set amount, and it was a pretty simple process. They just transferred all the franchise agreements over to me, and I signed new contracts, franchise contracts with Scotts LawnService at that time. So it was a pretty simple process. I
Nice.
don't know a whole lot of. I'm sure there's lots of different variations of what different franchisees require to become a franchisor. But for me, it was a pretty simple process.
Nice. Was that something that you had to? Because there's a lot of people that listens to the podcast, and some of these guys are, they may be working for a lawn care company, or they may be wanting to start their own company, or they may be working for power washers or window cleaners, or we got a lot of variety plumbers in the audience. So, as far as the logistics of some of that, did you guys? Did they work up the paperwork to get those transfers done? Did y'all get an attorney involved in that? How did that work on that side?
Yeah, no, I didn't deal with an attorney at all. Just
Okay.
just me and the seller just had this. The seller put together some documentation for the sale of the business, and the franchisor Scott's, they put together all the transfer paperwork, and obviously they have a director of franchising, and he did all that. So in
Nice.
general, they had, obviously all these companies has legal, uh, lawyers on staff, so they do all that. So
Fantastic.
there's a lot of paperwork that goes along with being with the franchise contracts. There's a lot of disclosures that they have to disclose according to um, uh, the I'm going to say not the Department of Labor. My memory fails me at the moment as to they have to the government entity that they have to satisfy on that. I'll think of it in a minute, but
Okay.
um,
Yeah, and I'm sure
it's the
there's a
Federal
lot.
Trade Commission. Federal Trades. I think the Federal Trade Commission regulates franchises.
Okay. All right.
Mm.
I'm certain there's obviously like you pay certain fees for the use of their name and their branding to the company. Like, is that monthly, yearly? How does that work with
Yeah,
and of
most
course now I know
franchises.
it's TruGreen. But
Most franchises you pay royalties, and it's a typically most franchises, as I understand, you pay a percentage of your revenue toward for being a franchisee of that franchise system.
nice.
Yeah.
So um do you think, I mean, and you may know this now, you may not, because you haven't gone through the other side of it, but do you think the franchise side, do you think because they had kind of a system set up where people could become a part of that and be a part, do you think that made it easier to step into that business as opposed to maybe just trying to start it yourself?
100%.
100%.
100%. Yeah, no doubt about it. For me, when I got into this, I had no lawn care. We're chemical applicators, right? We do, we're on the lawn care side where, we do lawn treatments, fertilizing, treat for weeds, insects, disease, mosquitoes, all that kind of stuff. So we don't do any grass cutting or landscaping. So I see very frequently, you follow different groups of people, Facebook groups, lawn care, Facebook groups. There's a lot of people that get into this business and just fail at it because there
Yeah.
is a learning curve. We 100% have an advantage by being a franchisor of a company because you have, any franchise. You can say that about any franchise. If you open a hamburger shop, obviously, if you're a McDonald's, you're going to be better off than if you're an independent dude opening a hamburger shop, right?
Sure.
You have all the systems, all the everything that you have the roadmap.
Yeah.
So you're definitely in a better position if you're a part of a franchise that's been doing it for a while.
Nice. Uh, so did you have to do like personally, like quite a bit of research, a little bit about, okay, what am I doing here? What are we going out and doing? I mean, did you pick up the employees? Did the employees that he had stick around, or did you have to start scrambling and get out there yourself, or how'd that work for you?
My employee trained me.
Nice, nice.
One dude in a van, and I was trained by that employee.
That's
And
awesome.
it took me a little bit to figure it out, but a couple of seasons, you started to. I was just like any new employee that we have now. It took me a couple of seasons to go through the winter and the summer, and what we do during the winter and what we do in the summer, and it took me a little while to figure it out, but obviously years go by and you just learn more and more, and as we continue to grow, as you continue to grow, there's new challenges every day.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, I'm sure there'll be different challenges than we had today. Just kind of on the job training, OJT, So
Absolutely. I know how that feels. That's what I've been doing. So, um, so how many jobs did you obviously in the beginning? So now you're getting trained by your employee, which is cool. That's a great way to build that relationship too. But you're pretty much wearing all the hats at that point, right? Like you're the owner, you're a tech, you're uh, probably doing the books and doing all this stuff. How long was it before you were able to start picking up momentum as far as maybe hiring someone to kind of do the operations or different roles like that?
yeah, so when we first started, I had a tech, and we added a couple of locations in. Uh, we bought the business in 2007. In 2015, we added a couple of new locations, and so that's when I had hired a couple of new guys, um, but and then you fast forward, we became part of TruGreen in 2016, and then we bought another location in 2017. And so at that time, just still trying to pick our way through, trying to figure this thing out and figure out how we're going to grow. Um, but we really picked up steam when we became part of TruGreen. It
Nice.
was a whole different atmosphere. It was a whole different setup. Uh, it was a whole different group of people that we collaborated with, all the other TruGreen franchisors. And then the second thing that kind of propelled us is when I hired the lady that is now my office manager and who is now a partner in my business. Um, I realized, I thought I was good at handling money, but now I know that I suck at it. She
That's all
started,
right.
yeah, she started work, and now I can't think of the exact date, but she's been with us, I think, 9 years. So 2014. Yeah. So she was with us before we became True Green, and she was there whenever we bought our Alexandria, Louisiana business. She was there when we became part of True Green. But that really started to propel me because she just relieved a lot of the burden of all the bookkeeping from me, and she had worked for several companies that were much larger than us. And then when we became part of TruGreen, that just because we learned a lot about marketing and advertising and selling when we started hanging out with all those guys in the
Yeah,
TruGreen group, and that's when our sales started to really pick up.
that's cool. It's amazing what getting some of the right people in those places can really change. That's one of the things, as you probably now know, we really try to teach on it with the bird flow is getting those right people in the right places. It can totally change your company and change your world
Right.
when you surround yourself with the right people. So that's really cool. I'm glad she's there and a part of what you guys are doing.
Yep.
So let's shift into this hiring idea. Uh, uh, in your opinion, now with post or post pandemic, we're out of the woods, out of this thing. Um, do you think just in the culture, uh, and specifically in the lawn care, but in general, what is your thoughts around hiring and how like retention rate and what how's that looking for you guys? Is it hard because we're seeing a lot of that in a lot of different industries are really struggling. What do you guys think about that?
I think I think all the service businesses are all struggling. We definitely saw a huge, uh, the challenge in hiring people has always been there, right? That's a difficult thing, but hiring good people, I should say.
Yeah.
But after the pandemic, it became especially hard. And we didn't start to struggle with that until I guess 2021. Um, there was a period of time where I was hearing a lot of people that were struggling, and I kept saying, no, we're pretty good, we're doing okay, and then gradually it just hit us. There was a time where we lost 50% of our technicians in a branch at one time, and it was a real struggle to get the work done. Um, while all the while trying to hire and train new technicians. And it felt like for a pretty long period of time, we were constantly losing people, and just it was almost like a revolving door.
Mm.
Knock on wood, we have a couple of new guys in one of our branches right now. All the staff that we have currently has been with us, and whenever we say have been with us for a while is not really a long time.
Right.
Um, a while, maybe a year, because I, I, I don't know what the average tenure of a technician is most service businesses, but if we're keeping guys for a couple of years, I would say that that's a success. I do have several guys that have been with us for 6, 8, 10, 12 years, but it's a small percentage of our entire staff,
Right.
technician
Yeah.
staff. That is, most of my management team, and they've been with us for quite some time.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, it seems to be a struggle across the board, and what do you do? And so finding solutions to that, and really finding creative ways to motivate and attract that those guys that really want to come in and be a part of your company and your culture is it's a struggle for so many, but uh,
it
finding
really
ways to
is.
do it.
Yeah,
So
I mean, you have to go through, just an enormous amount of people to find anybody that you feel like is worthy of representing your company.
yeah,
So technicians are the face of the company. So you really have to make a good choice when you're hiring somebody. Otherwise, you have um, you know people that you don't want to represent your company out there being the face of it.
yeah, that's really important. How they show up and how they're presenting you guys as a company and customer satisfaction. Obviously, clearly retaining those customers is important for all of our businesses. So
Right.
that yeah, That's key. You gotta be able to get out there and represent professionally and get the job done well. So, what's one of the biggest struggles you think is being like a franchisee or just an entrepreneur in general since you started that journey? What do you think one of the biggest struggles have been for you?
Um, I would say that over the last over the last couple of years, I guess, I've really kind of honed in on a vision for my company, and kind of know what direction I want, where I want to take my company. We have aspirations to add a couple more locations. Um, we have aspirations to continue to grow. We have aspirations to make it a pretty low key place to work. Our company policies are pretty laxed, and most people are pretty comfortable working here. Um, but the challenges that I've had over the last couple of years is I know what the systems I want to put in place, but it's been very difficult to get those systems to be followed every day.
Yeah,
Some days, those the systems that we put in place, because I tell a lot, everybody that works in this company that we need to the systems today that we need for 3 or 4 years down the road. I tell people to act like we have double the number of customers and double the number of technicians that we have today. That's how we want to run our business, as if it were twice or three times the size as it is today, because that's where I want to go.
yeah,
Double, I'd like to triple our business, and it's been difficult to get everyone to follow those systems every day.
yeah,
Um, and so, yeah, I'd say that that's my biggest challenge.
yeah. Everybody wants pushback. It's always hard too. Like when you start really getting that momentum and you get pretty pumped and you got the vision and the goals are set out, and then really getting people to buy in on that. That's another one of those struggles. So hearing it from you, I'm hearing it from a lot of guys and a lot of ladies that are in business. Um, but that's natural, right? I guess to some extent, it's so hard uh, wanting to, but you can't micromanage. You get your fingers in it too much, and then everybody gets ticked off, and what do you do? You gotta let them go and just really try to encourage and hope that they're gonna follow the system, pick up on it, and do what's right. But that's like you said, I guess that's
That's
part of the
probably a bigger. That is probably a bigger challenge, is to not dive in. I
yeah,
just listened to your podcast of the difference between working in and on your business, and
yeah,
that's a big challenge for me. Here's the other side: is that I was in the Air Force, and in the Air Force, it's this is what you're going to do, no matter what. Right?
yeah,
There's no plan B. This is it. That's your only choice, right? Or I
yeah.
worked on fighter jets, so it's perfection every single day, or somebody's going to die.
Right.
Um, so I'm pretty, I'm a very, very detailed guy, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and you have to be. I just growing up, my father was very, very mechanically inclined, so I learned to do a lot of things growing up, from carpentry to mechanic work to plumbing to electrical. I guess, jack of all trades, but master of none.
Nice.
But so I'm pretty type A, so it's very hard for me not to dive in and work in my business every day, especially when I'm sitting in my office and I hear things all around me going on. So sometimes I turn my music on in my office so I don't hear things going on around me,
Yeah.
so that I can stay focused on the big picture.
That's good. It's got to be done. I'm like you. You know, law enforcement. You didn't. If you made mistakes, especially SWAT operations and different things like that, something bad could go wrong. So you really had to focus. You really had to know your task, what needed to be done, how it needed to be done, and why, and
Mm,
then sticking to the plan and doing it correctly. Otherwise, someone doesn't potentially doesn't go home, and that's not a good thing. So I completely understand that viewpoint. And it is hard, right? Like,
right.
I mean, I'm not even a business owner, but there are times I still, I still want that control over certain things that honestly, in a lot of ways I can't. But like that podcast talked about, like you've got to have that time to really work on your business and trust that the systems are going to work. But no, I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult, Kevin.
It
It's
is.
hard.
It sure is.
Uh, so I like everyone to know like a couple questions I always ask. So if you said like one big thing, like an essential must, something that to start, like starting out a business, whether it's a franchise, um, or someone starting out early on, what is like a should do, like as early as you can do it? In your opinion, what do you think a business owner, entrepreneur starting something should do as early as possible? Some lesson that you've learned.
Um, one of the first things that comes to mind is, and I've heard y'all say it on a couple podcasts. Generally, when a guy starts a business, he's the dude, right? He's wearing all the hats. Um, I think that working, getting a mentor, somebody that's done it, is a great idea. And just kind of figuring out a roadmap,
Yeah,
getting the help from a mentor to put together a roadmap instead of just trying to figure it out. Because I'm gonna tell you, I wasted a lot of years not having that roadmap. And there was probably from 2007 to 2000, I'd say 16. So there was a good 9 years that I feel like that if I was had that roadmap, and if I knew what I know now when I started out, I'd be much further down the road.
totally.
Um, the other thing is there's so many businesses that I hear that just hire somebody and just, hey, I'm just going to pay you cash. Um, I think that's a terrible idea. We lose a couple of technicians every once in a while that say, hey, I'm going to work down the road. This guy's paying me cash. Well, that's fine for that. That dude thinks that that's a good idea, but I've seen a lot of people get into financial binds whenever they start filing tax returns or trying to buy a house, and they've been being house mortgage brokers. So people get paid cash and they say, I want to buy a house. I'm like, well, you can't prove any income. So, you've been working for cash for 10 years and now you can't prove how much money you made over the last 10 years. And that's bad for the employer too,
Yeah,
right? So I would say that run your business the way a business is supposed to be ran by the rules. And, there were some things that I did back then that I did because, it was, struggled financially for some years, and did what you have to do. I
sure.
operated. There was one time that I let my insurance lapse for a while, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to pay for it. But
Yeah,
then I got a big contract that said, "Hey, give me your insurance." So we're going to get that back in place, and so yeah, you just got to do what you got to do sometimes, but operate your business the right way.
yeah. We really try to tell, especially newer business. Most of the more established business owners that we work with, they've kind of like you have kind of figured out, hey, I've got to do this stuff right. But you're absolutely right, especially on this tax side. I mean, all of it you're correct about, and it's great advice. But that I'm telling you, man, that getting those books and operating them like they're supposed to be operated and paying what you're supposed to pay to keep yourself out of trouble, and for the employees too. That's really really fantastic advice.
Right.
Amazing. So what about and avoid? I mean, there's some of this is kind of mixed in there a little bit, but what's something you would say to some guys or some ladies, like, avoid this, don't do this. uh, Another lesson that maybe you've learned.
Hmm. Um, not, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but one of the principles that I live by is that uh, cheap isn't good and good isn't cheap, right? So it's not always the best policy. I realize that again. I've had to do it for many a times, but we're fortunate now to be able to have a great fleet of trucks. We have a lot of new trucks, um, but cheaper is not always better. Make sure you get good equipment to start with. Maintain your equipment well. Because your business is only as good as the equipment and the people that you have running it. Um, Make sure you don't skimp on a CPA is another one. I see a lot of people that try to do their books themselves, and I see a lot of questions being asked online about, can I deduct this and can I deduct that? Don't go to Facebook asking those questions. Don't ask tax advice on a lawn care group on Facebook. Hire your
Yeah,
CPA. The
yeah,
money that it's going to cost you, I promise you're going to save in taxes. So, don't skimp on pertinent things and don't try to do it all. Hire a CPA for your taxes. Um, hire professionals to do things that you don't know how to do.
yeah,
So,
yeah. That's great advice too. I'll tell you, I like I say, I don't own a business. Um, uh, I did for a short period of time, but even before that, and even now, I can do my taxes if I want, but I don't.
yeah,
Just because I'm not a tax professional. I'm not a CPA. I don't do that for a living. Just like I don't cut my own hair. Right? I pay someone to come and weed and spray my lawn because these are things that I don't do. So
right.
so hire, yes, absolutely. Like, don't do this stuff yourself, guys. Like, if you're not going to give yourself a haircut because you don't know how to cut hair, don't do your own taxes. Absolutely. That's
Yeah, and
really
the same thing could be said for a lot of people. Again, another thing that a lot of people, if you're looking to aggressively grow your business, a lot of people are out there, just like the guys asking tax advice on Facebook. A lot of guys are asking, "Hey, how does this Google work? How does that?" Get a marketing guy. You can hire people just to do some paid ads. You can attend some get some help on how to create your Google business profiles, and make sure that that's all done the right way. Don't the money. I just alluded to how I lost many years because I was trying to do everything myself. If I'd have had a marketing guy doing Google paid ads and all those things back when I started in 2007, I'd be way ahead of where I am now. I lost 8 or 9 years because I just wasn't doing that stuff because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know. So attending seminar, we were at the conference the other day.
Mhm.
I had never heard of that company that put on that conference, but
Right.
I went to it and I did learn stuff. We spent 2 days and a lot of money to attend that, but you pick up on little things.
Yeah.
Little, I try to go to a lot of different conferences outside of the normal stuff that we do already, and you always pick up something.
Yeah, and that's great advice too for these guys that there's a lot of people that hesitate to take that advice and to go and find these things and invest in yourself, invest in your employees, and
Yeah,
especially yourself on learning, like you're saying, like it is vital. And we go and speak at those conferences, but I love attending because I always learn not only from all the other speakers, but I usually end up learning from talking to, like, sitting at the bar and talking to Kevin or whoever it is I get to talk to. I'm still learning from people and growing, and that's what this journey is all about: growth, learning,
right,
and kicking that ego a little off to the side, and absorbing what we can from who we can. Uh,
right.
That's good stuff. It's good stuff. Well, Kevin, any final thoughts for the group out here listening on the show today?
Um, yeah, I think that, always learning is, and always just trying to pick up nuggets information on how to continue to grow your business and doing things different. I'm always, I'm never, one of the things that I see a lot of people say is that I don't like change. And that's terrible, terrible
Yeah.
advice, not changing. I like change a lot, especially in my business. I like things to constantly be evolving. Um, Over the last few years, we've tried hard to embrace as much technology and automation in our business, and we're still not there yet. There's still a lot of things that we want to do, but we're working with software companies to try to better. So we're trying to make things as easy and automated and fast and efficient as possible. So that's kind of my goal on growth. We're trying to grow our business and keep it as simple as possible. Um, there's a lot of things that you can do to overcomplicate it, and
Yeah.
we're trying not to go down that road. Um, but yeah, just keep growing. I'm not a big reader. You hear a lot of business owners say read books, and Elon Musk and Warren Buffett and those guys read thousands of books, and I'm just not a reader.
Right.
I don't know how, if I sit down with a book in bed, I'm asleep in 2 minutes. But what I do is I like to go to conferences and listen to people speak. Like we listened to you speak a couple weeks ago in New Orleans. That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
If I do listen to a book, it's an audio book. But yeah, just always try to be evolving, I guess, and learning from other people in the industry. There's a lot of people out there that are more than willing to share what they do and how they do it. And I'm an open book, and I'll tell you anything. Um, but yeah, that's my spiel.
That's good, man. Those are some solid gems for everybody out there, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show. And that's what you're doing right here, because you're these topics, these things we're talking about. There are people out there listening; they need this information, and we want them to have it, and they can have it for free. All they got to do is go on and listen. So, all you guys out there, ladies out there, business owners, leaders, technicians, hit like, subscribe, share this podcast, and then if you're in the areas in Louisiana, let's see, what it's where are the specific locations? Tell us, Kevin.
We're in Shreveport. We're in
Shreveport.
Alexandria. We're in Lafayette, Lake Charles, and we're also in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Fantastic. So if you guys out there need some lawn care provision, you've got to call Kevin at TruGreen. Anywhere close to those areas or the areas that he services, give him a call. They're out there working their butts off. So you guys know you don't want to spray your lawn. I don't want to spray my lawn. Let these guys come out and do that for you. So, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on the show. And maybe in the future, when you get some more of these locations up here pretty quick, because we know that's going to be happening, we'll have you back on and we'll discuss a little bit more on expansion. That'd be pretty cool.
Great. Thank you, John. It was a pleasure being on your podcast.
I appreciate it. Everyone out there listening, thank you so much. And come back and hear us next time for the Under Pressure podcast, where we talk about all things business and under pressure.